There's a strange financial trap almost nobody notices. You can work harder every year, earn more than you did before, and still somehow feel like you're getting nowhere. Because sometimes the thing keeping you poor isn't your income. It's what your brain does with your income. Think about that. If someone gave you twice as much money tomorrow, would your life actually change? Or would your expenses simply become twice as large? That question reveals something uncomfortable about financial behavior, because money has a strange property. It magnifies whatever behavior is already there. Give disciplined people more money, and they can build. Give impulsive people more money, and they can simply become more expensive versions of themselves. That's why this video isn't about getting rich quickly. It's about something much more important. Understanding the invisible decisions that quietly keep people trapped, even when they have opportunities to escape. And by the end of this video, I want you to notice something you probably never noticed before. Your financial future is being shaped by tiny decisions you make when nobody is watching. Your brain has a problem with money. It cares far more about what feels good now than what might make your life better 5 years from now. That's not because you're stupid. It's because your brain is built to value immediate rewards. A vacation next month feels real. Financial freedom 10 years from now feels abstract. A new phone is tangible. The money you could invest instead is invisible. Your brain naturally reaches for what it can see, and this is where the trap begins. One purchase rarely destroys anyone's finances. One restaurant rarely matters. One subscription rarely matters. One unnecessary upgrade rarely matters. But repeat those decisions for 10 years, and suddenly they matter enormously. This is one of the most dangerous things about financial mistakes. They're usually too small to feel dangerous while you're making them. The consequences arrive later, and by then, you've forgotten which decisions created them. That's why getting financially ahead requires something most people never develop: the ability to care about a future version of yourself as much as you care about yourself today. Now imagine your income suddenly increases by $1,000 a month. You feel richer. So naturally, you upgrade something. Maybe your apartment, maybe your car, maybe your lifestyle. But here's the problem. Your brain quickly forgets the old lifestyle ever existed. This is called lifestyle inflation. But I think there's a more revealing way to describe it. Your expenses learn how much you earn. And once they learn, they rarely want to forget. The dangerous part is that none of this feels crazy. You tell yourself, I can afford it. And technically you can. But affordability and financial wisdom are not the same thing. A person can afford a $700 monthly payment and still be financially fragile. Because wealth isn't determined only by what you can buy. It's determined by what you can survive without. That's the difference between looking wealthy and being financially strong. One needs an audience. The other needs options. And options are something money can quietly buy. But sometimes spending isn't about lifestyle at all. Sometimes you're trying to change how you feel. You had a terrible day. You feel invisible. You feel stressed. Then you buy something. For a moment, the emotional pressure drops. And that tiny reward teaches your brain something dangerous. Buying things makes me feel better. Now the next bad day has a solution. Not a healthy solution. A familiar one. This is how emotional spending becomes automatic. You don't even think, I'm going to make a financial mistake. You think, I deserve this. And that sentence can be incredibly expensive. So next time you suddenly want to buy something, pause. Ask yourself one uncomfortable question. If I were completely calm right now, would I still want this? Sometimes the answer tells you everything. Because emotional control is financial control. The stronger you become at managing your feelings, the less money you need to spend managing them. And that brings us to another trap. One that has nothing to do with shopping. Humans are naturally comparative. You don't need to be jealous to compare. You simply look around. Someone gets a better car. Someone buys a house. Someone takes an expensive vacation. And suddenly, your perfectly normal life feels inadequate. This is where social media becomes powerful. You see hundreds of people displaying their best moments. Your brain doesn't calculate the missing information. It simply compares their highlight reel against your ordinary Tuesday. Then something subtle happens. You don't necessarily want their exact life. You just don't want to feel behind. And suddenly spending becomes a way to catch up with an invisible race. But here's the problem with that race. There is no finish line. There will always be someone richer, someone younger, someone with a bigger house, someone with a better car. If your definition of enough depends on other people, you will never arrive. The moment you define what enough means for yourself, you stop playing a game designed by strangers. And that creates something extremely valuable. Financial peace. There is another word that has destroyed more financial futures than most people realize. Later. I'll save later. I'll learn later. I'll invest later. I'll increase my income later. Later feels safe because it requires nothing from you today. But later has a hidden cost. It steals repetition. And repetition is how skills grow, how savings grow, how businesses grow, how investments grow, how confidence grows. People wait because they think they need a perfect starting point. More money, more knowledge, more confidence. But confidence rarely comes before action. Usually, action creates confidence. You don't need to know how to build $1 million future today. You need to know what the next intelligent step is. Then take it. The next step reveals the step after that, and that is why starting small isn't embarrassing. Starting small is how you teach your brain. We are no longer waiting. That sentence can become the beginning of a completely different life. Now we need to talk about something uncomfortable. Hard work matters. But hard work alone doesn't guarantee financial progress. You can spend 10 years becoming extremely efficient at doing something nobody is willing to pay much for. The market doesn't pay you for how tired you are. It pays for the problems you can solve. The more valuable the problem, the more valuable your solution can become. That means financial growth often requires a second question. Not just, how hard am I working? But, what am I becoming better at? Because skills can travel with you. And valuable skills can multiply your opportunities. Learn to communicate. Learn to sell. Learn to build. Learn to write. Learn technology. Learn to solve expensive problems. You don't need all of them. One valuable skill can change the direction of your income. But remember the earlier lesson. More income isn't the finish line. If your habits remain broken, more money simply gives those habits more ammunition. So now we have to solve both sides of the equation. Here's a simple idea that can completely change how you see spending. Every purchase has two prices. The first is the amount written on the receipt. The second is the future you gave up to make that purchase. Spend $100, and you don't only lose $100. You lose the future possibility attached to that $100. This doesn't mean every purchase is bad. It means every purchase is a trade. And once you start seeing money as stored opportunity, your decisions become different. A dollar isn't just a dollar. It's a tiny piece of your future freedom. This is why wealthy thinking can look boring from the outside. Someone else sees an empty garage. You see money not being wasted. Someone sees an old phone. You see a decision not to upgrade. Someone sees restraint. You see future options. And eventually, you stop needing every decision to feel exciting. Because the reward becomes something deeper. Control. Freedom. Peace. The ability to choose your next move. But there is one final level. Your identity. If you constantly think, I'm bad with money. I always mess things up. I'll never be wealthy. Your brain starts treating those statements like instructions. You don't need fake positive affirmations. You need evidence. Save when you said you would save. Wait when you wanted to impulse buy. Learn when you wanted to procrastinate. Every small action becomes evidence of who you're becoming. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like punishment. It becomes normal. You don't constantly fight yourself. You simply become someone who thinks before acting. And that is a powerful identity. The goal isn't to become obsessed with money. It's to become independent from the emotional power money has over you. Advertising shouldn't control you. Status shouldn't control you. Fear shouldn't control you. Impulse shouldn't control you. Because financial freedom isn't simply having more money. It's having more control over your choices. And sometimes, the most powerful thing money can buy is the ability to say no. So here's where we turn everything into action. For the next 30 days, don't try to become rich. Become impossible to fool. Track every dollar. Not with shame. With curiosity. Before an unnecessary purchase, create a waiting period. Maybe 1 day. Maybe 3. The point isn't the exact number. The point is teaching your brain. I don't have to obey every impulse. Then create a gap between what you earn and what you spend. When your income rises, don't automatically upgrade everything. Let part of the increase disappear from your lifestyle and reappear in your future. Then choose one skill that can increase your earning power. Don't collect courses forever. Practice. Build something. Solve something. Get feedback. Repeat. Skill grows through contact with reality. And finally, define your version of enough. Because if you never decide what enough looks like, the world will decide for you. And the world has no reason to stop asking you to buy more. So why do 99% of people stay poor? The answer isn't one thing. It's a combination. Short-term thinking, emotional decisions, lifestyle inflation, comparison, weak financial habits, and waiting too long to develop valuable skills. None of these traps usually feel dangerous. That's what makes them dangerous. They feel normal. Everyone is doing them. Everyone is upgrading. Everyone is spending. Everyone is waiting. But normal doesn't always mean healthy. You don't need to escape all of them overnight. You need to interrupt one, then another, then another. Because financial transformation rarely looks dramatic while it's happening. It looks boring, small, almost invisible, but give those small decisions enough time, and they become something enormous. A better skill, a stronger income, a smaller lifestyle gap, a growing financial cushion, more choices, more freedom, and one day, you may realize, the biggest change wasn't the amount of money you had. It was the person you became while learning how to handle it. You became calmer, more patient, more intentional. You stopped buying things to prove yourself. Stopped comparing your life to strangers. Stopped waiting for the perfect moment. Stopped asking what everyone else was doing. And started asking what actually made sense for you. That is when money changes. Not when you suddenly get rich, but when money stops controlling your identity. You stop chasing things that impress people and start building things that protect your future. Maybe your starting point isn't perfect. Maybe your income is low. Maybe you've already made mistakes. Maybe you've wasted years. None of that changes the next decision. And the next decision is the only one you can control. Because the goal isn't to win a financial race against everyone else. The goal is to reach a point where your money gives you something far more valuable than expensive things. Time, choice, peace, and the freedom to decide what happens next. So the next time you receive money, pause. Before you spend it, ask, what future am I funding with this decision? Because every dollar is moving somewhere, toward your present, or toward your future. And maybe that is the secret nobody notices. Wealth isn't built in the moments when everyone is watching. It's built in the quiet moments, when nobody would know if you made the smart decision. But you know, maybe today you save your first small amount. Maybe you learn your first valuable skill. Maybe you cancel one thing you don't need. Maybe you finally stop comparing yourself to people online. It may feel insignificant. Do it anyway, because your future doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be intentional. And if you keep making better decisions long enough, one day you'll look back at the person watching this video and realize you didn't just change your money. You changed your life.